everybody, Steven here, and I just got my new monitor in, so we are going to unbox this thing. This is the Acer XZ321QU, and then all the other stuff that they put on these. I don't like their naming system with monitors. They are way too complicated, right? But this is a 32-inch monitor. This is a curved 1800R 1440p 144 hertz FreeSync monitor, and it even says on here on the front, it says HDR Ready. I don't know how much I actually believe that with here. So it has blue light shield, anti-flickering here, wide viewing angles, and all of that. As you can see, I have an Asus monitor right here. This is the 34-inch ultra wide 100 hertz 1440p monitor here. And I truly love this thing, but when it comes to content creation, when I'm trying to record videos and all these other things, YouTube doesn't like to have in-screen annotations with that. So you can't do the subscribe to my channel, here's some other videos that you may like at the end of your video here. And I don't like displaying the 16:9 aspect ratio on a 21:9 ultra wide monitor. It just looks really weird. I don't like the black bars on the side. It just doesn't seem like it runs as smooth compared to when it's like this. Now for personal use, I love this thing. It's phenomenal. But because I'm doing content on YouTube, I am switching back to a 16:9 monitor for that. So I'm actually taking this, it'll go downstairs. I'm still gonna use it, but it'll really just be for personal use with this. Now, this has two 2-watt speakers on it. This actually has two 7-watt speakers on it, if I remember correctly here. Yep. 2 speakers, 7 watts per speaker here. It has a display port, mini display port, one HDMI 2.0, and then one HDMI 2.0, MHL 2.1, and then it has the extended USB 3.0 ports on it as well, which this has also. Some of the other monitors that I was looking at in this 32-inch monitor, curved monitor kind of, I kind of framed that out. These are the things that I want with this, but when it came down to it, one of the things that a lot of these ended up lacking was the USB extender, expansion, whatever you want to call it with this. So I run a lot of different peripherals off of my computer here. So having that expansion is really, really nice, where I can plug things into the monitor like my keyboard, my camera, a couple other things here, just because I don't have enough on my actual motherboard. So a couple different things that I wanted with this that this actually met. I wanted the 32-inch. I noticed that all of these, for the most part, are 91 to 93 ppi, pixels per inch. So they're all kind of comparable in that regard. I did want a high hertz. I wanted something 144 or higher. With that, this actually fit that bill, but it has FreeSync and not G-Sync. This is a G-Sync monitor and I love it, but this is actually G-Sync compatible. So it still should be super smooth. I shouldn't experience any tearing or anything like that, any lag. This actually is, if I remember correctly, this is a 1 millisecond response time too. Some of the other ones that I was looking at, they ended up having like a 5, 6, one even had an 8 millisecond response time. So I wanted something that was going to be 1 millisecond response time, just like my monitor here. Now this is a VA panel compared to my IPS here, but I don't view my monitor at odd angles. So I know that's one of the downsides with it, more vibrant colors with this, but the IPS has, you look at all those comparable videos, right? Like this has black light bleed with it, which a VA panel doesn't have as much, or a TN panel doesn't have as bad, but the viewing angles are really, really good on this compared to this. They all have their pros and cons. I'm never viewing an angle at the side though, so that's never an issue for me. But it had the speakers, the USB expansion, it had the 144 hertz, it was G-Sync compatible with that as well. And like I said, PPI was very comparable with this. I don't care about the HDR on this. It's an HDR on gaming monitors isn't where I think it should be right now, unless you're gonna spend thousands of dollars. And then with that, if you start watching some of the videos from like Linus Tech Tips, where it works in certain games and it does look really, really good, but then in others it doesn't, and Windows still is having a hard time with it. So it's not where I want it to be just yet. Although I'm seeing some good things coming out of CES right now with Samsung that I'm curious to see all the other monitors that are coming out or that are going to be showcased in the next couple weeks here. But this fit the bill with everything. This is an LED monitor as well. It says mercury free on it. So let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. I didn't see a ton of unboxing videos and I didn't see a ton of reviews on this thing. What I noticed just with the basic structure of the body of this, the stand, this is basically the Acer Predator, but it has FreeSync, it's not G-Sync, and they changed the color on the stand a little bit, so it's actually silver and black instead of red and black. Other than that, it looks super comparable to it. And I actually had that monitor. I had a couple dead pixels pop up on it, so I was at the point where I saw this and I was like, I was kind of having buyer's remorse. So I had it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. I sent it back, ended up getting this thing. And like I said, I love this thing, but enough talking from me. Let's go ahead and get this thing open. Like I said, it was one of those things where it was hard to find. I looked at so many different monitors. LG, Samsung, I mean, Asus, Acer, all these different things. It was just so hard to find everything that I wanted. Looking more into what's the PPI, because when you go from 27-inch to 32-inch, I mean, your PPI is going down, right? So for some people that are editing or anything like that, they're like, you can see around text certain pixels. I'm not sitting, I mean, you're close to it, but I'm not analyzing everything on screen that much. So I'm just an average gamer here. We have our HDMI cable. We got our power brick. Instructions. DP. This is our USB extender cable. It's one of those things where I am having a hard time with the words for what that actually is here. But we'll look at it on the monitor here. But it actually has 4 of them too. Some of them I was looking at only had 2. I like when I have at least 3 or 4. So we got that cable here, and then the remaining portion of our power cable here. Oh, and what do we got here? Our mount we're gonna need. So put that to the side. That out of the way. All right, the fun part, the tricky part. And this does slide up and down. It has tilting and all that as well, just like this monitor does. All right. Woo. This must be the mount for it, right? What am I thinking of? VESA mount or whatever. With that, I mean, here's some of the other ones I was looking at. But if you look at it right here, which is gonna be harder to see on my phone here, it literally looks like the Acer Predator gaming monitor. It's the same base, like same everything, minus this is G-Sync is the big thing, and it can be overclocked to 165 hertz, where this is standard 144. Ooh, that looks clean. Gaining the vertical space here is going to be interesting, because that's the first thing you notice when going from just a regular monitor to an ultra wide. Now, if I was on a 27-inch, it would just be I have that expansion. But if you are coming from a 32 to an ultra wide, the first thing you notice is that it gets shorter, but it grows wider. All right. Anything else? We have the back panel to hide the cords. I will say another thing too, and I've done a review on this monitor. How this manages the cables, I love on the back of this, because it floats everything, and then I actually have a just an opening on my desk here that I can run everything through. So let's turn this bad boy around here. All right. So this is it. Woo! It's hefty. Oh, I love the buttons on the back. Very similar to this one here, where and I'll try and get some footage of this where you can actually click this and move these buttons around. They're not underneath on the front here, and this actually can, it's like a dial that you can push around. All right, this looks really, really good. So let me turn this around, and actually before I do that, we'll at least showcase that. Right, so we can tilt, we can pan, we can do all that good stuff with this. So on the back here, right, we can see these buttons here. So let's go ahead and get this set up. I'm gonna go ahead and swap this out, and then we'll pull up a game. I have to tinker with some settings here and mess with that a little bit to make sure that it is running essentially G-Sync, so we're not going to get any horrible tearing or anything like that. I don't think I can put this right up to this and have you guys see, but there is a noticeable size difference with this, like I said, with the vertical space that you get with this. So let's go ahead and click over. We'll have this all set up and ready to go. All right, so got it all set up. Super easy, quick. I literally just swapped them out, kept all my cords where they were, so it's easy to plug in and just get going. I'm going to showcase some footage of me trying to make a comparison between the two. It was really hard just based off the angles to showcase that. It's one of those things that you need to really see in person. But this is 31.5 across, right? You deal with the 34 is going at a different angle in order to get it. So when you deal with like the vertical height of this, really, it's almost like taking an inch off each side, shortening this to this, and then going wider. So if I had to make just a general hand comparison, my previous monitor was about here, but it wasn't this tall. You'd shrink this down, right? So harder to do, but having the vertical space feels great to have, but you are losing that horizontal space here. So setup, insanely easy. I went in to check to make sure that G-Sync was enabled. When this got connected, it automatically made sure that it said, hey, G-Sync is running, this is G-Sync compatible. I didn't have to do anything. I've barely tinkered with the settings in terms of using the dial back here. I like the click and button, like I said, the fact that it's kind of like that radial dial where you can move it around. Changing all the settings has been easy. I just went in to make sure that, hey, is overdrive on? We can do that right there. Is FreeSync on? Yes. Millisecond, what we got here? Let's see if that'll do anything for us. Yeah, not a fan. You can tinker with HDR auto. It does not look good. Everything is, let's see if we can turn that off. That's better. I need to tinker around with that a little bit more. Let's go off. So these are my user settings from messing with that. This is 100% volume, by the way, so based off how much you can hear that. One of the other things that is an upside, not only the YouTube stuff, but I have the G560 speakers here. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. So I have the G560 speakers here. Based off light sync, they're going to mimic the colors that are on screen here, right? You can kind of see them moving just a little bit. There we go. It only likes to do that with certain games when it's an ultra wide. When it's not, it's easier for it to do. So Red Dead Redemption 2 here only did it maybe 10% of the time. Other than that, it wouldn't actually display this at all because it just didn't like to do it in ultra wide. Doom was the same way, and this is one of their games that is actually touted as having another layer of features when it comes to light sync, where it actually does certain flashes and things like that to make it more immersive. So that is another upside for this as well. Pulling 74 to 78 frames per second right now. It is, I did tinker with the settings in Red Dead to make sure that, hey, this actually is going to shoot for the 144 hertz here and all of that. And actually, let me make sure that, yeah, that's off. connection, we're done. Okay, so far so good. Looks really, really good. Now this is like mid-high settings, just coming from the ultra wide. It was harder to run because it does have more resolution to deal with. It's 3440 by 1440 versus the 2560 by 1440. So I haven't had any like weird screen tearing or anything like that with this. I haven't had any flicker trouble or anything. So looks really, really good so far, but I do need to mess with this more. The other thing is where I put this grommet is where it was convenient for the previous monitor. So now this is kind of offset from a visual standpoint, which I actually don't mind because I wanted to be able to scoot this stuff over, and it actually gets me more centered, which is nice as well. Although running the cords and trying to get them, they look about the same. So it's one of those things, visually it looks very similar to the way it was. I have my camera here that I got to get set up later, but so far so good with that. Let's actually go ahead and exit. The HDR feature, I'm curious to actually tinker around with that more. It's not something that, based off everything I've seen, it's something that, especially, I don't even know if this is most likely a low HDR, like HDR 400 or something like that, if it even is that, because I don't even think they said on here. It just says it's HDR ready, but then it doesn't tell you what that means with this. So curious to dig into that a little bit more. That wasn't a feature I was looking at. This is like, oh, I have to get this, or anything like that. And a lot of times it's fake HDR. It's not even true HDR when it comes to this. So yeah, it says right here, it's not real HDR. Because it's not the 1000 nits here. So I don't know what the amount of nits with this is either. So I'm not going to mess with that. But I do need to tinker more with the settings in terms of color. Let's pull up another game here just to see what it does. Doom's kind of standard with this stuff. Tell you what, let's pop it up. Let's see what we can do with this. Easy game. It always shoots for, I mean, previous monitor was 100 hertz and it was throwing it up there towards 200. So we'll see what it does. Now, it's one of those games where I can go in there and tweak the settings. I haven't done it yet. I had to keep it turned off because it was the ultra wide. Sound quality is really, really good with this too. I am impressed with that. Going from the 2-watt speakers on the previous one to the 7 watts, I can tell the difference. It's very subtle, but I can definitely tell the difference. But like I said, I don't really use that. I actually use my light sync ones over here, which we'll keep it on that for right now. I don't want to, because it's still going to showcase everything there. I mean, it's just holding at 200 FPS. So the ultra wide would do that, but it would dip. It would go like around anywhere from 130 to 160, and then it would jump up on certain points. Now I have a GTX 1080 Ti too. I do want to point that out. So same thing. I'm not having any screen tearing or anything like that. Yeah. So I mean, it's not having any problems at all. Not that I would expect it to, but I do like to see how smooth it runs when it's a G-Sync compatible monitor here. All right, so not bad at all. Volume is good, right? Something I'm gonna have to like yell over with this. So very, very good that it has the speakers, all the features. So that is it with this. Please, just with the quick test here, but I do need to do more. So a review hopefully will be out in, I don't know, the next handful of weeks. I'm kind of behind with some of this stuff just because I like to sit with it for a little bit, see if there are any quirks that if I only spend a couple days with it, I'm not going to see. Do I see dead pixels later? Do I have any problems with that? Which every single monitor had on Amazon some review that said dead pixels, quality control, was complaining about customer service. I didn't find a single company where that wasn't the case. in some regard, right? Now, if it's one where it's like the vast majority of reviews were like that, I was definitely shying away from that. But with this, I didn't see a lot of that at all. There were some, but I want to sit with this also because of that. I want to see down the road, am I having any difficulties with this? So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this answered a lot of your questions, but because I'm going to be toying around with it, if you do have questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hopefully I can streamline this, do a shorter video, answer a lot of those questions with the review as well. So check back soon for that, as well as the other videos that I need to do as well. Still need to review the Logitech G560 speakers, still messing with those. Very, very happy, but I wanted to switch back to this also to give my final stamp of approval on them, where I'm not dealing with the 21:9 aspect ratio. So thank you guys so much for watching. Check back soon for more videos.